welcome, and we're going to call the March 3rd State Board of Education meeting to order. And at this time, Vice Chairman Grimminger will lead us in our pledge. If you'll please stand.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't know about all of you, but when you hear that, it just sounds so nice and powerful when everybody as a group says the pledge. It's very good sound. Is there any objection to approving the minutes as presented? These are the minutes from our January 6th meeting. We did not meet in February. Hearing none, the minutes are approved by unanimous consent. Is there any objection to approving the agenda for today, March 3rd, 2026, as presented? Hearing none, the agenda is approved by unanimous consent. We'd like to welcome those of you who are in attendance today and those who may be joining us online, and we do thank you for your interest in the work of the State Board of Education. Is there any media present with us today? Okay. We do want to welcome new board members, Donna Elmore, Ginger Cato, and welcome back David Trent. He was with us in January, but we now have they complement the board very well. Thank you, and welcome here for the work that we're going to do today. All right, for my report today is going to be brief. If you've around me very long, I have a heart for teachers. I got into teaching because I think of my teachers. I loved everyone I had. So when I was in school, I wanted everybody to love their teachers as much as I love mine. But I think we have a responsibility, and I think it's more than just a responsibility. I think it's a moral responsibility to support our first-year teachers. The start of a teaching career matters, and when we invest in teachers early, we help build a professional foundation that will sustain excellence for decades to come. Quite simply, I can't think of anything more important than building capacity in our teachers who have the greatest impact on our student outcomes. And so today, my hometown hero is one of those promising educators. And I think you'll probably see his picture in a minute. His name is Derek Rhodes, and he's a first-year social studies teacher at North Augusta High School. Derek represents first-year teachers all across our state, and he was inspired to enter the profession by his teachers who impacted his own life. He not only admired their influence, he really felt the call to continue that work. In particular, his high school mock trial sponsor played a pivotal role, and now Derek hopes to provide that same meaningful opportunity and inspiration to his own students. You know, the goal of the mock trial team is to educate students about the foundation of our American judicial system and the mechanics of litigation. It's such a great skill set for our students to learn. Derek's principal, Casey Rogers, captures his readiness and mindset best when he said, "Mr. Rhodes was well prepared for teaching. He was ready to go and push forward. He isn't complacent. Mr. Rhodes is a reflective teacher with high expectations for his students." And lastly, in talking with Derek, I learned something special. When his parents were in middle school, I was their social studies teacher. Now, how good is that? With intentional support and encouragement, educators like Derek will not only succeed, they will thrive and shape the next generation. So, thank you very much.
Well, that is wonderful, Chair Mathis and ladies and gentlemen of the board. It's wonderful to see you again today after a great orientation yesterday. I am so excited to be able to talk a little bit about what's happened the last few months here around the Department of Education. And of course, we really want to focus it on all of the great work that's being done on the front lines by our teachers for our students. And so the top row of pictures that you are looking at happened on January 16th. We kicked off the year strong with Liberty Day at the State House. And that was a wonderful day that was put on by the SC 250 Commission. We had 250 very blessed fourth graders who were able to come from all over the state to learn about not only revolutionary history, but about their government and how their voice works. And so they were actually able to sit on the floor of the House in the South Carolina State House, and it was clear to me from the students that I got to interact with that their teachers had done a great job prepping them for what they were going to see. So we got to look at the voting system and how all of the representatives vote yes or no, and then there's also a button that says IT, but it's IT. I believe, Miss Rita, is that right? That's how you call for help with your computer. So we had a conversation. About that, and we were able to look at the legislative manuals, and it was just absolutely wonderful. And then, of course, the highlight of the event for them, well, there were so many highlights, but they got to hear from their governor. He came and spoke to them, and then there were also historical reenactors who portrayed different important revolutionary figures, and then there were a lot of hands-on activities, even though it was a very cold day around the State House. And so it was just a wonderful, wonderful day of learning, and I can't tell you how much I loved interacting with all of the students in their tri-corner hats with their cockades, and they were on it and ready to go and invested in their learning. And it was really cool, too, because January 17th was actually the 245th anniversary of the Battle of Cowpens. And so we had a delegation from Cherokee County there, and so we were able to talk about how each of us has living history in our own backyard. And so that was just a wonderful experience. The bottom row of pictures that you're looking at there was actually just from last week, and those are students at Coosaw Elementary School in Beaufort County. And Coosaw is very special because they have one of the highest concentrations of military families in the whole state. And little did we know how relevant that would be in talking about the sacrifices that our military family members make. And I know that we're all praying for our military as they are over in the Middle East fighting for freedom. But it was just a wonderful day to spend time with those military families, with the military parents, with the teachers who do their best every day to support them. Beaufort is a Purple Star district, which means that they have gone above and beyond to really support those military families through the transitions that they often have to go through. And we also talked about our Palmetto Pioneer series, and so I told them the story of William Jasper and the courage of William Jasper and how South Carolina became the Palmetto State. And so that was just a wonderful opportunity. We also had Birthday Cake for America, which of course was a hit. All of the kids got cupcakes at lunch, and clearly that was the highlight of the day. I think the little 5-year-old who was sitting on the front row in front of me almost lost his mind when he heard about the cupcakes. So if he got nothing else from the day, he at least got some red, white, and blue cupcakes. But speaking of our Palmetto Pioneers, I wanted to spotlight our latest Palmetto Pioneer just because it was a very special event. So on the 40th anniversary of the Challenger, which would have been late January, it's hard to believe that it's been 40 years. I was blessed to be in Lake City at the school named after Ron McNair with his wife Cheryl, who you see standing next to me in the white scarf there. She came back to be part of that very special celebration, which was led by students from Lake City. Wonderful musical numbers and poetry recitations and just many different things that I think Ron would have found so inspiring in memory of his legacy. And so he is our latest Palmetto Pioneer, and something that Cheryl shared with me that day really just gave me chills. She said that Ron's mother told him that, Ron, someday you will impact the education of every child in South Carolina. And as I think about that vision that his mother had for his life, the fact that we now have this tool that every single student and teacher in South Carolina can access, his legacy continues to impact every single student in the state of South Carolina. And what a joy to be part of carrying that privilege on. And if you want to learn more about our Palmetto Pioneers series, visit palmettocivicsproject.com, and you'll be able to find that poster there. And then the last thing that I wanted to touch on, since we have a lot on our plates today, we're going to be getting an academic update on the Palmetto Math Project, which Dr. Duggins has talked about in the past. But I wanted to specifically highlight a video from one school in Aiken County, Schofield Middle School. And they are doing incredible work with our partner Zern, which we've talked about before, is a resource, a supplemental resource that we're providing to all of our school districts free of charge here. And what we really love about the work that they're doing at Schofield is that they have incorporated this into their Tier 1 instruction. We keep talking about how do we make every kid a math kid, and how do we ensure that there is strong Tier 1 instruction for every single student? And that's what Schofield is doing. So I'll close my report with the video, and Mr. Chairman, then turn it back over to you.
I love Zern. I watch my students. They don't get frustrated. I like that they are focused, they're engaged, and they are determined to complete the task.
I do believe that all students can learn math. And you always hear students say, I can't do math. And I thought, well, now I have a few other tools in my pocket for you to try.
I like Zern because it makes me more confident in my math skills, so I'm able to participate in class more.
I like Zern because it gives me step-by-step ways on how to do something I get confused on in class.
Starting last semester, my 8th grade math classes, we have been incorporating Zern at the end of our lessons 3 times a week. Zern is a great tool to help reinforce 8th grade standards in South Carolina. Some of them even raise their hands more now since they've been using Zern to contribute to our class discussions. When I see the students feel good about the math, it makes me feel good as a math teacher. When I see them enjoying the conversation and not sitting there barely staying awake, it makes me feel like I'm doing my job and I'm helping prepare them for high school math.
What I've noticed with Zern is that it's been a great resource to allow us to honestly break down the math. And so I've noticed that because of that, things are starting to click a lot quicker this year than in years past.
I like Zern because it makes learning fun.
Zern makes anything from addition to trigonometry fun.
The implementation with Zern has gone extremely well. We looked at it as a way of providing access to Tier 1 content for all students. We saw growth, and we're seeing where it's making a difference for our students.
When we have students who are 3 or more grade levels behind and it's hard to find an entry point, what Zern did for us was it gave our teachers another way of introducing the Tier 1 and reinforcing Tier 1 instruction.
Zern makes me believe that I'm a math kid.
Zern makes me believe I'm a math kid.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm sure you can. Yeah. So Madison Hahn, you're up.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, Superintendent Weaver, and members of the board, and thank you for your time today. My name is Madison Hahn, and I'm a third-year student at the University of South Carolina studying political science and education. I'm excited for the opportunity to speak with you all today. Through this past year, I've had the pleasure of working with Mr. Patrick Kelly in the Palmetto State Teachers Association. Through both my work and my studies, I understand it to be the priority of the state to protect the well-being of its teachers while also acting in the best interest of our students' academics. I've seen tension between these goals often mentioned in the conversations around students with IEPs. IEPs are made to protect students that have greater or different needs in the classroom and are defined through the Individuals with Disabilities in Education Act, or IDEA. Under the IDEA, behavior stemming from a child's disability must not be punished with expulsion or suspension of more than 10 days. During these 10 days, students are not always guaranteed educational services. It's on the 11th day of this suspension that students are entitled to educational resources outside of the classroom, as well as a new manifestation determination review. This means that students who need accommodations are losing invaluable instructional time as a result of behavior that may in fact be a manifestation of a diagnosed disability. This issue is especially prevalent in South Carolina. Compared to the national average of 7% of students with disabilities receiving out-of-state suspension for less than 10 days, South Carolina's suspension rate is at a staggering 15%. This trend remains the same for students receiving OSS for more than 10 days, with South Carolina once again more than doubling the national average. While student learning is, of course, a very high priority, so is our teachers' safety. I'm not proposing students are just suspended for the sake of suspension, but through reports, through PSTA members, I have heard of the harm and violence that can happen in these classrooms, and teachers deserve safety in their place of work. With this being said, there must be a balance between student learning and teacher safety. And it's worth noting that the IDEA does have language that protects educators from experiencing violence in their classrooms. There's a written exception that allows for suspension in case of serious bodily harm, as well as a host of other serious or dangerous offenses. The right of teachers to maintain a safe workplace and learning space will remain protected. But in an effort to allow teachers to remove threats from the classroom while also providing students with educational materials that they are entitled to, I drafted a brief to propose a policy that can allow both to happen. The federal government, through IDEA, is capable of paying up to 40% of the cost to educate students with IEPs. And this is not being met to its full potential, with only 15% of the allotted funding is being appropriated. Even further, a 2023 Brookings Institute report shows that the South Carolina schools are receiving $1,276 less dollars per student than the highest federally funded state. That shows that there are states that are able to utilize these resources to their fullest extent. And looking again specifically at South Carolina, the identification rates for students with disabilities vary greatly between districts. The district with the lowest rate reported only 7% of its students with IEPs, and the district with the highest surpasses 20% of its students. The discrepancy in identification impacts the amount of federal funds available to each respective district, and therefore the quality of education that suspended students may be receiving. Full funding of IDEA by Congress would allow for great progress for our students and teachers alike. With these extra funds, districts could hire additional personnel to aid students that are being suspended outside of the classroom, and ensuring that they are able to learn and participate in their classes during suspension. This funding could also allow for more frequent manifestation determination reviews to be held. By having faster and more accurate identification processes, the IEP team can better adapt the accommodations of students to prevent further suspensions. With a policy focused on leveraging federal funding, there's less strain on the state and greater relief for our schools. This approach will maintain the safety of our teachers, leaving them with the capability to remove threats from classrooms, while also giving students greater access to essential academic material and more thorough identification processes. I ask the board to consider ways to work with our state's congressional delegation to secure full IDEA funding for our South Carolina students. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you, Madison. It's a very important topic thank you very much. Next up is Felicia Jones from Kids and Neighborhood Empowerment.
Hello, everyone. I spoke with you in December at your state board meeting. I'm an international peace ambassador and a humanitarian. I speak for people who don't have a voice. My program, Kids and Neighborhood Empowerment Connection, allowed me to receive those awards for working with kids. Okay, what I'm asking you to do is put all of your degrees down and pick up your humanity, because our current administration doesn't have it. We must protect our kids and project them for positive things, positive pathways and outcomes. You cannot just leave poison here. You have to leave jobs. I'm asking the state Department of Education, I already spoke with the Department of Transportation, to reach out to people in control, like our governor. Ask them to use the $1.29 billion settlement from Scout Motors to run a speed line from Savannah Airport to Charlotte, Charleston to Atlanta, which creates jobs throughout the state and adjoining states. You're cutting 10,000 cars off the road, creating 10,000 jobs for future generations. We have to put that in place. They can't do it. Today, the CDC, National Institute of Health, Medical Institute of Health, has America at 92% on some form of ADHD medication, a 370% spike in dementia for millennials and Gen Z. That's your children, your grandchildren, etc. Why? You're eating, drinking, and breathing poison all day, every day. It's called microplastic. No place on the planet is not contaminated. And we knew that 50 years ago when DuPont's lawyers sued DuPont for lying. And everybody turned their head. And today we're all contaminated. The younger you are, the more detrimental it is to your mental development. In 20 years, they have our kids at partially sterile. It's us sitting here as adults. Everyone in this room is accountable for the next generation. I don't care if you have kids or not. And don't look at me like I'm crazy when you're allowing people to let us drink this poison that's in our food. Fort Jackson Military Base just sued DuPont in September. We sued Scout Motors for $1.29 billion, and we still have 22 active cases. I asked the school board to, along with that speed line that's going to change lives, end homelessness. That ends homelessness. This will also, with the class action lawsuit I'm asking for, is for $10,000 a month for life. That's what ends homelessness. This, along with a personal assistant, free mental counseling, free medical counseling, and education. Why? Because, like I said, we're all contaminated at this point. We're all going to be affected, whether you want to recognize it or not. That plastic is on your brain. It's in your joints. They can pick it out the placenta out of a new birth. That's how serious this is. They need a tweezer and do this and pick plastic out, because everything we eat and drink is contaminated. When the animals aren't eating the food, the fruit that you throw out, then there's a problem, okay? So our younger people don't have the opportunity to say, I don't want to eat this. So I'm asking the State Department of Education to, along with Child Protective Service, to treat the people that contaminate our children and our citizens the same way you would treat me if I poison a kid. If I put it in there, you're going to lock me up, take away, throw the key away, whatever you're going to do, because I'm contaminating our kids. But that's a count on all of us, because our kids don't have anything to do. They can't make that choice. The same thing for the homeless people. They need the personal assistance so they can get to their appointments, pay their rent, make sure they have a place to live. I sent this information to the United Nations because I'm an international peace ambassador. I sent it to your current administration and your past administration. This is not something that I have not been working on for a while. Just so you know, my brother was security for Air Force One under the Bush administration. My other brother is CIA. I'm an international peace ambassador. We're doing this because we see a cause. We need to lift our next generation, okay? We can't just keep turning our head and acting like nothing's going on, and it's up to us to do that. Nobody else is going to do. Has anybody sat up here and said this? No. I've been speaking since last January when I went into Ross, and I explained that, and the 4-year-old, 5 minutes after I'm asking them, why is it safer in a prison yard than in a schoolyard? The parents looked at me like I was crazy. They were shopping Christmas Eve. 5 minutes after I left, a 4-year-old shot and killed herself. So yeah, I'm gonna keep coming back until you do something, till you hear me, okay? Okay.
Thank you, Ms.
I will
Jones.
be back, but please, And I've been calling, trying to get an appointment with you. Your secretary's not giving, Ms. Weaver and Ms. Allison. I've
Thank you,
been
Ms.
calling
Jones.
since December. Please call me back, because we need a panel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, I don't want to hear this.
That's it. All right. Moving ahead on our agenda, the Policy and Legislation Committee met and heard 5 items for approval and none for information. Today, 4 of the 5 are going to be placed on the consent agenda and 1 to be presented to the full board for approval. Presented up for the consent agenda, we heard the Spartanburg County School District 1 Landrum High School waiver request for interscholastic activities. To be placed on the consent agenda, Horry County School District related to student participation in interscholastic activities. Item number 3 to be placed on the consent agenda, Horry County School District, a waiver related to student participating in interscholastic activities. And item 4 to be placed on the consent agenda is the request for approval of the 2025 statewide school district's capital needs report. And the item to be placed on the full board agenda is the approval of governance BBCDC, which is the criteria for review for applicants for the non-certified teacher pilot program. That was the second reading of that policy, and it will go on the full board agenda. The report that I just presented stands as a motion made from the committee, and it does not require a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor with aye? Aye. All right, the motion carries. I now recognize Dr. Johnson to present the Educator Professions Committee report.
Thank you, Dr. Mathis. Excuse me. The Education Professions Committee met and approved 3 action items. First was the identification of critical needs subject areas for 2026 and 27. Number 2 was the identification of critical needs geographic areas for schools for 2026-27, and the critical need designations for employment of retired educators for 26-27. These action items were approved by the committee and placed on the consent agenda. There was one item for information that we heard this morning from the Professional Review Committee. It was explaining to us the providers and the program updates of many programs in our state that are making changes in their requirements or their program itself. That concludes my report, Dr. Mathis.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. And the report stands as a motion made from the committee. It does not require a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor with aye?
Aye.
The motion carries. At this time, I recognize Ms. Lynn to present the Standards Learning and Accountability Report.
The Standards Learning and Accountability Committee met and heard 1 action item. Florence 1 Schools Request 5919350, Schools for Schools of Innovation waiver. The action item was approved and moved to the consent agenda. The committee heard 3 information items. The South Carolina Department of Education's cyclical, I can't say it now because you asked me to. Say it, everybody.
Yeah.
Cyclical review. I did that well the first time. Thank you. Of the 2019 South Carolina College and Ready Standards for Social Studies. The second informational item was 2025 school improvement designations. The third item was tiered support for underperforming and emergency managed districts. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lynn. The report stands as a motion from the committee and does not require a second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor with aye? Aye. And the motion carries. The Instructional Materials Review Committee did not have a meeting this month. And now I recognize Cliff Warren to present the Educator Licensure Committee report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The ELC had 10 cases today. We heard We had one that we didn't take action on and we referred back to General Counsel. We had 2 denials of certification due to unprofessional conduct, 4 revocations, and 3 suspensions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Additionally, the full board ratified all actions made by the ELC committee. The full board educator licensure committee met and heard 2 cases resulting in 2 orders of permanent revocation. Additionally, the full board ratified all actions taken by the ELC. Now, our consent agenda and all committee items have been placed on the consent agenda. If you just heard from our reports, it's been distributed. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Allison moves to accept the consent agenda.
Okay. Board Member Allison made a motion. Is there a second?
Haney, second.
Okay. Joey Haney made the second. All in favor of the motion by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by a like sign. The motion carries. We have one item for approval on the Board of Education report, and that is the approval of governance BBCDC, and that was the review of the applicants for the non-certified teacher program. Is there a motion to approve the second reading of the approval of this of governance BBCDC? Can I have a motion for that?
I move that we approve the criteria for review of applicants for the non-certified teacher pilot program.
A motion is made by Board Member Kriminger. Is there a second? Dr. Johnson has seconded the motion. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Is there a second? No, you've already seconded. Are there any opposed by like sign? The motion carries. And now it comes to our most interesting part, I think, of our agenda. Abby Duggins and Elizabeth Schumpert are going to present some academic updates.
Thank you, Chairman Mathis and members of the board. I will be brief at the podium today because I'm about to turn it over to my brilliant colleague, Elizabeth Schumpert. But before I bring her up here, I remember over 2 years ago when Superintendent Weaver started laying out her vision for the Palmetto Math Project. And I thought, ooh, this feels a little bit tricky for me because I'm not a math person. I've since learned that we are all math people and we can all learn to love math. And so really excited to introduce you to Elizabeth Schumpert. She is our team lead of the Palmetto Math Project. She serves in the Office of Instructional Supports. And she is the driving force that ensures that tools like Zearn don't live on a computer screen. They become a really powerful tool that grows teachers and kids and is just one of the many pieces of Palmetto Math Project that ensures that all of our students statewide get a really strong Tier 1 experience with math instruction. So Elizabeth, if you'll join me up here, we would love to learn about being math people.
Good afternoon, Chairman Mathis, Superintendent Weaver, and State School Board. My name is Elizabeth Schumpert, and I am the team lead for the Palmetto Math Project. I truly appreciate you taking time and listening to me today. I am very passionate about math. Thank you. And if you would please just humor me, how many of you recall when you were in elementary school, you truly loved math? Okay. How many of you truly loved math in middle school and high school? Okay. That's about what we're finding across the board, so that would be a true statistic. As Superintendent Weaver mentioned, as Dr. Duggins mentioned, we make too many excuses for students by just saying, my child's not a math child. Cameron's not a math student. We must put an end to that. We can no longer make excuses because all children in South Carolina deserve to be numerate. We would never, ever, ever say a child is illiterate, but we say children are not math children, and it's no longer fair. So today, moving forward, all children in South Carolina are math children. Before we get started, there's a few terms that I'm going to use today. You may already be familiar with them, but just to give you a little background knowledge. When I use the term CRA, I'm referring to concrete representational abstract, and I'm going to go very deep into what the research says about that. It's basically using a concrete tool, a manipulative, to build conceptual understanding, and then moving that to a pictorial representation. And then we bring in the abstract of numbers, variables, symbols. But a student cannot be successful in math with that abstract until we build a concrete representation for them to build their background knowledge in math. And then I'm also going to use the term HQIM, high quality instructional materials. Those are the textbooks that have been vetted and approved by our South Carolina Department of Education. So, if you're ready, let's talk Palmetto Math. Our Palmetto Math is basically put into 3 buckets. Our first bucket is what we call coaching support. And these are our schools that receive the most intensive support. A Palmetto Math Project school is a school where 50% or more students in 5th or 8th grade are significantly below grade level based on our SC Ready Math Assessment. So, some of these schools are what we call Tier 3 schools, and they receive coaching support. We currently have 15 Palmetto Math Specialists, and they are supporting 63 schools in 28 school districts and 2 charter schools in the state of South Carolina. We also have other eligible schools that are not receiving quite as intense support. These schools are what we call our Tier 2 schools, and they're getting regional support. Our regional support is where every quarter we go to the different regions of the state and we provide professional learning opportunities for these math teachers. So far, we have provided 2 of these professional learning opportunities. We had one that focused on the CRA model, Concrete Representational Abstract Model, and we had 249 participants. Then we also provided professional learning on the purposeful use of manipulatives. This had 237 participants. We literally were in spaces where it was standing room only. If we could have had more teachers, I think we could have impacted close to 1,000 teachers. Unfortunately, when we're doing these PLOs and we're asking for a district to host us, they may tell us we have seating for 75 participants, so we do have to cap it. And then our third bucket is our partnerships. You heard about one of our amazing partners today, and that is Zurn Math. Zurn Math is a free resource that is available through 2030 to all kindergarten through 8th grade teachers. We also have a partnership with Modern Classroom Project. They specifically, what they have done is they have taken our brand new 2025 math standards and they have unpacked them for teachers. And I'm going to go into more detail about exactly what they did and what that looks like. And then our third partner is OGAP. OGAP is high quality professional development because if you go back to what did we do in literacy that had the biggest impact on our students performing better in literacy, we provided teachers with high quality professional development, and that in turn impacted our students. And OGAP is going to be that professional development that will make a teacher a better math teacher by tomorrow. So let's talk about what our Palmetto Math schools look like. We started with coaching support, and I'm going to read to you here because it is just so important that I want to make sure I get the research right. So the focus of coaching is to ensure that all students have access to high quality Tier 1 instruction. We believe high-quality instruction includes CRA and the purposeful use of manipulatives and models. CRA stands for Concrete Representational Abstract. The CRA sequence improves math outcomes by systematically bridging the gap between physical experience and symbolic reasoning. Research shows that students using this approach achieve a higher knowledge retention and a deeper conceptual understanding compared to those in a traditional symbolic-only instruction classroom. Through CRA, students develop tactile and a visual anchor for math concepts that create a lasting mental representation that students use when they encounter difficult abstract problems. In addition, CRA ensures students understand the why behind a procedure before moving to the abstract stage, preventing students from just memorizing steps that they don't even understand. When students understand the underlying concepts, they are better able to apply mathematical skills to new and real-world problems. Our coaching support also is centered around what does good math look like and sound like? Believe it or not, we have school administrators in our buildings who say, I'm not a math person. So our Palmetto math specialists, they go into classrooms with building administrators, instructional leaders in their schools, and they do classroom walkthroughs, they do observations, and they talk about what did that good math instruction look like and sound like. Our math coaching also supports our HQIM, our high-quality instructional materials, to ensure that teachers have the efficacy to implement those materials in the textbook, because we no longer want to just throw algorithm after algorithm towards students. They have to have that CRA model, and it's embedded in our new HQIM. We did an outstanding job vetting those materials. We just need to make sure that teachers are comfortable using them. And our HQIM also improves our high-quality Tier 1 instruction. Our coaching support also wants to ensure that math teachers are utilizing the resources that we have made available through our partnership support. Our regional support, I talked about that earlier. We have provided professional learning opportunities using CRA and using manipulatives to just make sure we have student success in math. We have also partnered with Modern Classroom Project. That's one of our partners, and they also provide professional learning when we do these PDs. Half of the day is spent with Modern Classroom, helping them do unit internalization with their brand new HQIM materials. And they also give them time to go through those resources in their materials and find where is a good place to embed CRA in my next unit. We also, through our regional support, we are open to any school who wants a Palmetto math specialist to come in. Now, granted, we can't give you one that comes every week like our Tier 1 schools get, but if a principal, if a superintendent were to ask us, can a math specialist come and lead PD for our teachers, we will absolutely make it happen. Can they come do walkthroughs with our principals to make sure that our school has the best math instruction going on? We will make it happen. And our partnership support. You got to see the great things about Zurn Math today. I don't feel like I'm going to have to spend a lot of time on Zurn Math, but what I really want to emphasize what Zurn Math is all about is it's about accelerating grade level learning. There is a time and place for remediation. But if all we do is remediate, when is a student ever going to get grade level learning? How can they be successful if they've never been exposed to the grade level standards? So through Zurn, students only work on grade level. They will never go backwards. When they miss a problem, guess what Zurn does? It goes right back to CRA. They may start in Zurn on an abstract problem on grade level. But when a student misses the problem, they go back to the concrete and the representational teaching for that on grade level learning so that a student has a direct pathway to learn with their peers what's going on in class, what is my teacher teaching today, and they can get a grasp on it. Our other partnership, Modern Classroom Project, what we have hired them to do is to unpack the 2025 math standards, and they have made 5 to 7 minute teacher-facing videos of what exactly does each standard, what should it look like and sound like in a South Carolina math classroom. And then our last partnership, OGAP. And I just have to read these about OGAP because I cannot say it as well as how it is written. OGAP is not a curriculum. It is intense content training to enable teachers to be better users of their HQIM. OGAP enables teachers to identify the underlying gaps in how students understand and how to address those misunderstandings that students have in math. All of our partners have a unique role in Palmetto Math, but they play so well together. Zurn Math, they could ask for a bigger piece of the pie, but they don't. Zurn Math meets with Modern Classroom. How can we talk about your CRA when we're unpacking these standards? Zurn Math just told us last week, we want to meet with OGAP. So they want to be joint partners in this work we're doing, and I could not have asked for 3 better partners in this work. So, it's time to do some math. I imagine that most of you learned, this is a 4th grade standard, 2-digit multiplication by 2-digit multiplication. Most of you probably learned it the way that I learned it. The way that I taught my students was the U.S. Standard Algorithm. Most of you probably learned that 6 times 2 was 12, 6 times 5 is 30, plus 1 is 31. Bring down a 0. Can't forget that. 4 times 2 is 8, and 4 times 5 is 20. Add the 2 rows, and my final product is 2,392. We absolutely want students to get here, but we cannot start here because there are too many misconceptions that I just said where students are still struggling with place value, with numeracy. The only thing that I said when I did that problem with you, and it's probably the way you may have explained it to your children, the only thing I told you that was true was 6 times 2 is 12. That's not 6 times 5. It's 6 times 50. It's not 30. It's 300. I didn't carry a 1. I carried a 10. Why did I bring down the 0? I don't know. My teacher just told me to. And then 4 times 2, no, it's 40 times 2. It's not an 8. It's an 80. 4 times 5 is not 4, it's 40. It's not 5, it's 50. It's not 20, it's 2,000. So what can we do to undo these misconceptions? We can use actually what our South Carolina standards are telling us to use. We'll look at the standard in just a minute. But we can use what is called an area model for 52 times 46 and show students that it's the same thing as 50 plus 2 times 40 plus 6. And when we do it in an area model, we're also teaching students how to find area of a 2-dimensional figure. They will later need to know how to find area for surface model, for surface area for 3-dimensional figures. But I did this proportional as well because it's very important because 50 times 40 is a lot bigger than 40 times 2. So you also have to do, if you're going to use the area model, it needs to be proportional. But you can see right here, I broke it down into the place values. 40 times 2 is 50. 40 times 50 is 2,000. 40 times 2 is 80. 6 times 50 is 300. And 6 times 2 is 12. When I add them up, I get the same product of 2,392. Now, area model is a great tool. It's a great CRA, concrete representational way, to teach two-digit multiplication by two-digit multiplication. But we don't want to leave students here. Before we take them to the US algorithm, there's another algorithm we can use, which is called partial product. And it's embedding those actual place values in the multiplication. I don't have to start in the back with the 6. My teacher always told me start with the ones place, start with the 6, start on the bottom. That's what I told my kids too. But I can start anywhere in partial product. I'm going to start with the 40. 40 times 50 is the 2,000. 40 times 2 is 80. 6 times 50 is 300, and 6 times 2 is 12. It's the partial product are the pieces that are within the area model. So when I'm ready to move them out of the area model, I can move them to partial product. And then from partial product, I can get them to standard algorithm. So what do the standards say? In 4th grade, students are to decompose numbers by the value of each digit to multiply whole numbers up to 4 digits by a 1-digit number and 2 2-digit whole numbers. What do our indicator insiders say? How should we be teaching this? Strategies include but are not limited to partial product, which we just looked at, equations, open arrays, area models, and the properties of operation. Area model. So here is the why. If a student understands that 52 times 46 using an area model never expires. Look where they can take it to when they get to algebra doing binomial expressions. I can take 3z plus 5 times 2z plus 7 and put it in an area model. A lot of you might have been taught FOIL. Works one time and it's a trick. It's a one-time trick that expires. This never expires. As you can see, when we use the area model with binomial expressions, we get to 6z squared plus 31z plus 35. Okay. So, CRA, when done well, will better prepare our students for the workforce. They will be more employable because they will have the math skills they need for employability. Our students that want to go to a 4-year college won't have to look at how many math courses do I have to take to get my degree. I'm not strong in math. I might better major in something else. So, when done well, I truly believe that our CRA model, that we are really working hard with our teachers and our parents to embrace, can be the game changer for turning math around in South Carolina. So, Palmetto Math. What questions do you have?
That's excellent. So I think one of the pieces I picked up that I think really pulls a lot of this together is, if we want students to be good in math, to perform well on our state test, it's not rocket science. You've got to teach to the depth of those standards and assess to the depth of those standards. But we find oftentimes teachers don't understand what that standard is asking for. So if you've got a tool that will unpack that standard and give a video to, that is phenomenal. I mean, I think that is a home run and the bases are loaded.
And Dr. Mathis, we own those. They have created them for us, and they are ours to keep. They live in our South Carolina instructional hub. Yeah. They've created them for K through every high school course. Calculus, pre-calculus, 4K, 3rd grade. So until our math standards are updated and changed, that is a free resource that is available to every 4K through high school teacher.
Right. Because you know as well as I do what happens. A teacher doesn't understand, or neither do I. I'm not just saying, you look at that standard and you think, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, so I Google it, okay, and I get some nice little activities to do, but it never goes to the depth of those standards. And now you've got the high-quality materials to match that. So I think it's just a matter of time before your scores are going to skyrocket. So what other questions do you have for Elizabeth or Abby?
I have a question.
I have a question about certification. I know the letters training, there's a certification associated with that. Is there a certification associated with this?
With OGAP, there is not. OGAP offers 4 different professional cohorts depending on the grade band that the teacher teaches. There is an additive cohort that is 4 days of intensive professional development for 4K through 2nd grade teachers. There's multiplicative reasoning and fractions. Both of those are applicable to 3rd through 8th grade. And then there's proportional reasoning, which is appropriate for middle school and those entry high school courses. And they're going on right now in our schools. If you are interested in seeing an OGAP professional development, I will be glad. Richland One started theirs today. I will be glad to get you in one. We are actually doing one here at the South Carolina State Department of Education in May on the proportional reasoning.
Can I add one thing about?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
One other question I had was, is this what we've been hearing about, the science of math?
There currently is not a science of math. A lot of people are talking about it, but the research has not been done, and it has not been vetted yet to say that there is funds to pay for it.
So
Absolutely.
is it grant funding now through the state, or how is it?
Where's
the money?
The program is actually state funded, so we
Okay.
requested the money through the Palmetto Math Project, and the General Assembly has provided recurring sources of funding. So the way that we really approach this work is looking for demonstration of impact. So when we have tools like Zern that the General Assembly has given recurring money potentially for, we're going to be evaluating impact. And if there's ROI, then we'll continue to re-up it as a statewide
You just hate for a
resource.
good program that
That's right.
ends up dying because of cost.
Yeah,
obviously.
you're absolutely right. I think thinking about like long-term sustainability has got to be built into
Right.
the conversation from the front end.
And just one quick, the U.S. standard approach, which, I'll probably say that's what I learned. But how long have we been using that? just from 100 years, 200 years,
Actually,
500 years?
Forever.
Actually,
I just think about some of the contractors that I know that if they go look at a parking lot and want to put down asphalt, they might use that back of the envelope math. A little bit
have you
easier
seen
than
the
other approach.
movie Hidden Figures?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, that is when the Space Wars, when we needed a quicker way to quickly and fluently solve algorithms quickly.
Yeah.
Math was taught using more of a CRA approach, and then with the Space Wars, we started moving to a abstract algorithm for speed and fluency. But in our schools, we cannot sacrifice speed and fluency over conceptual understanding. Do we eventually want to get them there? Absolutely, because we don't want a child to get broken down in a real-world problem doing 14 times 38. Like, that needs to be the easy part of the real-world problem.
Yeah. Thank you.
Question. With Zern, are our teachers getting professional development on how to use Zern?
Yes, absolutely. We have a contract with Zern that Zern is coaching the schools that are implementing and using it.
Do we have a list of those schools somewhere?
We do.
Okay.
I was going to say, I think we are in all but 15 or 16 districts, and about 9 of those districts are actually coming on board. So this has been widely implemented and well received.
Ms. Elmore, you had a question.
That's a good question. I've been meeting with. Okay. Yeah.
Ms. Elmore, that's an excellent question, and it really harkens back to Mr. Harrington, the first question you asked that I tried to creep up, and I apologize for trying to take the podium back, but like the reading, the Literacy Read to Succeed endorsement was a certification requirement. There is no math counterpart, but even without that, Elizabeth and her team have built out math teacher competencies that mirror our literacy teacher competencies. So we are able to use those competencies with our institutes of higher ed. They have not yet been released yet. They're actually still going through the feedback process, and Elizabeth has worked with mathematicians across the state and is reaching out in the coming months to institutes of higher ed so they can see those competencies, because that is what we expect from our math educators. So we want to make sure that we have that clear communication with our institutes of higher ed.
Great. Ms. Crimmins, you had another question?
Well, just a comment, math is our teacher shortage, one of our teacher shortage areas, and we're having more and more international teachers
Please bear with me. I'm sleeping.
with math. And, sometimes it's the language barrier. So this is another resource that can help them, and especially with that coaching, going into those classrooms and assisting them. That's great.
When we have e-learning days, learning can continue. Students can get on Zern and do grade level learning for the day. Derek Phillips in technology was sharing the day that we were actually filming at Schofield was right around those days that we had the winter weather, and he was telling me, my kindergartner was doing her Zern yesterday for e-learning. So
that's great.
Yeah.
Any other questions or comments for Abby or Elizabeth?
One last question on my part, and that is, do you do any train-the-trainer kind of things, or are we dependent on Zern to do all the training in the schools?
Zern is a digital platform, so there's really no train-the-trainer for Zern. Now, for the OGAP, we have asked if our Palmetto math specialist could be train-the-trainer. At the time, we were told no because they were using that model. And unfortunately, not our math specialists, but other educators that OGAP had trained to be train-the-trainers, they were not going out and delivering the professional development to the integrity and to the high rigor that OGAP is meant to implement. And therefore, they've taken that back. I'm still working on, can our math specialists be train-the-trainer, because we have the best in the state.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? I think this is really going to build the confidence in our teachers to know that they're good math teachers. I think that's really important. So, thank you very much, Elizabeth, Abby. I just have to note here, Abby is from Saluda. Elizabeth's from Saluda. There's some good things that come out of Saluda, So I'm just saying, yeah. So anyway, so thank you very much. That takes us up to any other business. Is there any other business that anyone would like to share for the good of the order? And I would like to tell those who are with us today, while we move through this agenda in a little over an hour, we have had a day full of meetings. It started at 9 this morning, and committee meetings every 30 minutes, and so this is just like the home stretch for us. So thank you to our board for your commitment in the full day. Anything else? Two things. Jess wants to make sure you get your travel voucher signed, your travel form signed. And board members, when you came in today, there was a gift in your chair. Todd Atwater and his team will look to see what the cost of that is if we need to file that on our ethics report. So he'll take care of that for us. Hearing nothing else.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay. We have a motion from Ken Richardson to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor with aye?
Aye.
We are adjourned.